I saw this crazy stat, right? Where apparently like 17 out of his 20 World Cup goals are after halftime. Because that's like when he steps up always. Because that's like Mbappe is that player who always shows up when you need it. And you kind of knew when he missed that penalty that he was going to score a screamer.
He's a five-time Ballon d'Or winner. He's a five-time Champions League winner. He's won the Euros for Portugal. He's won two Nations League for Portugal. 100, almost 150 goals for Portugal, 230 odd appearances for Portugal. He's won the Premier League, he's won La Liga, he's won Serie A. But this is the game, and then the next game potentially, where you needed the ball controlling midfield that Tuchel has basically left at home. So if they lose to Norway or if they lose to an Argentina because they're unable to take control of the midfield, it'll be easy to point to the decisions that he made to keep the likes of Foden and these guys at home who can control the midfield, who can retain the ball, so on and so forth. England doesn't have that. Welcome to the dugout. You guys doing well? So the first quarterfinal entry is set. France beating Morocco quite comfortably, I would say, in Boston yesterday, 2-0. A bit of a slow start for France. Mbappe missed a penalty. We'll talk about the penalty itself, but then easy to 2-0 with a wonderful goal by Mbappe, Dembele scoring. To me, the story of this game was how comfortable France looked against what was a tough opponent on paper, but again, I think Morocco gave, too much credence to the name on the shirts again and the atmosphere and the environment. They never played their game. Yes, Saibari wasn't there, that probably hamstrung them, but they just didn't have the energy and the enthusiasm that you've seen them throughout this World Cup. You compare how they approached yesterday to Brazil, and it was like watching a different team. Mustafa, your thoughts first on Morocco's approach, and then AZ, I'll come to you on Mbappe and France.
Yeah. Like my thing on Morocco's approach is I was stunned, right? Because like we were talking about this game a couple of days ago, right? And I was really excited for it because I thought it was going to be a very much an end-to-end game because I genuinely do think this Morocco team on talent is obviously it's not on the level of this France team, right? This France team is one of the greatest World Cup squads I've ever seen. But like Morocco plays like a team. They are a very functional, very good team. They play good football, right? And they did nothing. Like Hakimi, their superstar, was horrible. He took some of the worst free kicks and corners I have ever seen in my life. My God, right? And then aside from that, there was barely any attacking play aside from set pieces, and even those, and as I said, those set pieces were horrible. And any attack that was about to get started, Saliba and Upamecano just stuffed out because that is an unbeatable center back partnership at this point.
Yeah, I think like Doc mentioned, they certainly played the badge on the front rather than the game itself. They were certainly overawed and maybe emotionally a bit spent from the way they won against the Netherlands and against Canada as well. France didn't really get out of third or fourth gear, to be honest. They didn't really need to press that much, even though the Moroccans did well to keep it at 0-0, thanks to Yassine Bono, who had an unbelievable game, some clutch saves, and of course that penalty save as well. But in the end, when France, we've seen it repeatedly, whenever they need to turn it on, whenever they just need to press the accelerator down, they have the likes of Dembele, Mbappe, Olise, who can just provide that spark, that magic, and two unbelievable goals. They were outside from the box, let me tell you. Like they weren't from inside. They didn't really get into the Moroccan penalty box. Just class finishing, and Mbappe, dictador, unbelievable, man. What a player he is.
Yeah, like slightly.
Top-notch finishing. I mean, that first goal was just the way he bent it around the defender, bent around the post was just that's world-class finishing right there. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Yeah, I was just saying like so like I saw this crazy stat, right? Where apparently like 17 out of his 20 World Cup goals are after halftime. Because that's like when he steps up always. Because that's like Mbappe is that player who always shows up when you need it. And you kind of knew when he missed that penalty that he was going to score a screamer.
Let's come to that penalty real quick. To me, Bono is there's still 7 games to go, but I think he's the keeper of the World Cup over Vazino
Hmm.
of Cape Verde. And I think his technique for penalties is going to revolutionize the way goalkeepers approach penalties. He doesn't always dive. He's, in the last game in the penalty shootout against the Netherlands, he stood up basically and covered half the goal in that way. And his penalty save percentage is about 30%, which is outrageous. Another fantastic World Cup. To me, the issue with that I had with the penalty was it's a clear penalty. I don't know why VAR took so long to immediately say there wasn't a clear and obvious error and just carry on with it. I think the role
Argentinian
for
crew.
Mm,
Argentinian crew maybe, but to me the role of VAR is to correct clear and obvious errors that the referee made. This wasn't a clear and obvious error on the penalty. It
it,
looked a penalty, and even if it didn't look like a clear penalty, it wasn't an obvious non-penalty.
mm,
Um, but again, it goes to the techniques of penalty. I don't know why players continue to persist with this stutter step, try and get the keeper to dive. Just pick a spot, smash it. Chances are you'll hit it hard enough that the keeper's not going to get to it. It was disappointing to see Mbappe succumb to this virus
mm,
that has engulfed football, but so be it. One other thing, I was a little surprised that Deschamps persisted with Elise because he was on a yellow. Not in that game, but he was at risk for missing a semifinal if he'd picked up a yellow. But he got away with it. Um, and Mbappe these guys have a gear that no other team has. And you mentioned Saliba and Upamecano. We thought initially maybe their defense would be a little bit of a soft underbelly, but they've gone from strength to strength. They've only allowed 2 goals in this World Cup campaign.
Especially with playing the more conservative or orthodox fullback with Lucas Digne. I think Theo Hernandez a bit more of a risk taker. He likes to bomb
mm.
forward. He's not very good man to man. So that slight tweak that Deschamps has made of having Lucas Digne as the left back rather than Theo Hernandez, the sacrifice on the attacking front. But when you have the likes of Barcola, Doué, Olise, you don't really need Theo Hernandez's exploits down the left flank. So Lucas Digne very solid. He's tough as a rock, and he's been doing a fantastic job this World Cup.
Yeah, on Deschamps as well. Like I think he's had his finger on the pulse all World Cup. He has made the right calls, the right changes for every single game. It is scary that I am watching his best coaching and like the best play that under Deschamps' French squad I have ever seen in either of the three World Cups.
Yeah, he's now won the most games as a World Cup manager. So the other game is going to be Spain-Belgium. But before we get to Spain-Belgium, I just want to touch upon those that the Spanish vanquished, the Portuguese national team, and one Cristiano Ronaldo. He officially has made a statement that this is his last World Cup game. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But can we just give the man his flowers? He's a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. He's a 5-time Champions League winner. He's won the Euros for Portugal. He's won 2 Nations League for Portugal. 100, almost 150 goals for Portugal, 230 odd appearances for Portugal. He's won the Premier League. He's won La Liga. He's won Serie A. He has extracted every ounce of talent from his body that he could, and to continue to play at a level, let's not say a high level, but at a certain level at this age is nothing short of miraculous. The Messi Ronaldo comparison, it's a lazy comparison. They're both great in their own way. Whether one is greater than the other, does it really matter? He was a great in his time, and his greatness will stand the test of time. Um, I think he wishes he'd won a World Cup, but it's a team game, and there's lots of great players who've never won World Cups. But it shouldn't deter from the fact that how good a player he was on our screens for the better part of 2.5 decades.
Yeah. And like let's just like be very honest about this. Like Portugal only got to three World Cups before Ronaldo came in, right? Of course, you had Figo and Quaresma in that 2006 squad, but like after that, they had like a dearth of talent until like right until now. And I think he's just a victim of his own greatness because like most people most of these people who are watching football now that are on Twitter, right? They're in their teens or early 20s, right? So they remember Ronaldo, the penalty box striker, that was like his like last the three-peat Ronaldo, which was like he was incredible that, right? But everyone used to call him Captain Merchant, all that stuff, right? We remember this flashy winger, the one of the best dribblers in the world, one of the best crosses in the world, one of the best playmakers in the world. The I don't care if he's better than Messi, but this idea that Messi is so much better than him is so crazy to me. They were at each other's level for 9 years. For over for sorry, not even 9 years, a decade. They were going head to head. It's really annoying that this has now become the thing with him getting older and like he's run his body out. Like he's overspent. It's as simple as that.
Well, I think Mustafa summarized it beautifully. I mean, where was Portugal before Cristiano Ronaldo kind of put them back on the map? Fair enough, they made it to 2002 with that golden generation of Rui Costa, Luis Figo, and the rest of them. But before that, they were an absolute afterthought, even as a European football powerhouse, than what they've achieved in the last decade and a half, especially with winning the Euro in 2016. Massive, massive credit to Cristiano. He won the Nations League as well. Of course, there is that bitter pill to swallow that he never made it through. He never quite took them all the way to a World Cup. But I think he has his legacy set, especially in club football, winning the three major leagues, winning the Premier League, winning Serie A, winning La Liga, multiple Champions League titles, multiple Ballon d'Ors, and he is certainly one of one. He is that dude. I'm personally a Cristiano guy through and through. It's kind of sad to see this vitriol around him, but I think there is still one more chapter remaining. Norway,
Oh yeah.
like you mentioned, it's a home World Cup in 2030. Surely he has to be there. I think it's going to be the one last ride, that last dance is still coming for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Especially with Jorge Jesus coming back as coach, coming in as coach as well.
And the other thing, the beauty of Cristiano is how he evolved his game. He went from Viva Ronaldo running down the wing here, United sing, hugging the touchline, doing basically step overs and running Premier League defenders ragged, to then becoming really a fox in the box. A little bit like the way Jordan went from being basically, this high flying guy who would dunk and so on, to becoming the most lethal mid-range player of all time, probably. If you just look at Michael Jordan's uh, post-game highlights, that's probably better than the post-game highlights of a lot of fours and threes and fours and fives in the NBA. And he evolved that just over time, understanding his body, understanding the game. And Wayne Gretzky, the ice hockey player, is always, his famous line is, "Don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going to go." And Ronaldo just read the game beautifully. Dennis Rodman did this with rebounding in basketball. He just knew where the ball was going to land in the box. He just happened to be at the end of it time and time again. So let's come to the most probably the spiciest game of this quarterfinal, which is England-Norway in Miami on Saturday. There's some news that's been breaking around the England camp. Number one, Gerald Kwanzaa, who was red carded against Mexico, has been banned by FIFA for 2 games, so he'll be out until a potential England World Cup final. And two, Mark Cahill is dealing with a hamstring injury. And three, Declan Rice and a couple other England players seem to have picked up a bug in Mexico, and so may not be 100%. Um, to me, even before this news, I was a little uncomfortable about England's chances. And we talked about sometimes when you achieve getting to the mountain, and in this case, the mountain was conquering the Azteca, beating Mexico in that game, the way they did it, just the emotional letdown, the physical letdown, so on, it can be very hard to get yourself back up again. So I was worried about that too. Norway know how to play these English players, this England team. They're not going to be overawed by this. Um, and then the heat and humidity in Miami, this was always going to be a tricky game. I think it's become a trickier game. Wouldn't surprise me if this goes against the grain and Norway pulls off. I wouldn't like to say an upset, but if Norway wins this game. Mustafa, your thoughts on this breaking news around England and how this impacts their chances against Norway? And then, AZ, just more thoughts on this game.
Yeah, that we were already questioning their defense, the England's defense. This is even questioning it even more because who are you probably going to draft in? John Stones, probably who's not
Dan
who
Burn or John Stones will probably
uh, uh,
play with Konsa, Ezri
yeah.
Konsa.
Yeah. So that and then like yeah, they're decent defenders. John Stones was a great defender at his own time, right? But he is past his prime. Dan Burn is good. He's a good defender, but like you're against Haaland. But at the same time, like yes, Norway have Haaland, but England have Kane. It can very much like they could very much take them out of the game because of how good they are in the penalty box, right? Yeah, respectively. I think the person to watch this game and for the entire England campaign will be Jude Bellingham and how he will play on the offensive and defensive side.
I think that's a fair point. I think Dan Burn versus John Stones. Of course, John Stone has lost that step of quickness that perhaps could force him on the back foot against Haaland. And Dan Burn, we saw coming off the bench, did a great job in that Mexico game when they were spamming those crosses into the box. One physical presence perhaps might cancel out the other, but Haaland is good off the ball as well. So it'll be interesting to see Thomas Tuchel's team selection. As Konsa has been the go-to guy, and he'll probably maintain his space. Jed Spence, could he slot in as a right back or a makeshift right back? Or will it be
Uh,
Declan Rice once again having to drop deep once more? So there are some selection headaches for Thomas Tuchel to solve. I think apart from Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka is overdue for a big game. He
mm,
needs to step up in this World Cup as well. And of course, the Premier League familiarity between these two squads. A lot of Norwegians have applied their trade in the Championship, in the Premier League. So I think this could be a slightly attritional game. Norway need to take it deep or they need to score early and make England chase the game as you would expect. Something similar to what we saw against Brazil. Can they do that? They certainly can with Erling Haaland in the form of his life.
yeah, and
I'd play Nusa and Shutterloop if I was Norway. Try and push England
I think
back.
Nusa will
Um,
definitely be there.
yeah.
Sorloth has been a bit absent in this World Cup.
yep.
Maybe they could Oscar Bob could be a good option as well. Some pace to run at the English defense as well.
And Oscar Bob, of course, ex-City, he knows how to play. Odegaard against Rice, they'll know each other as well. The game within the game will be very interesting. To me, Mustafa, you're absolutely right. England will go as far as Jude carries them in that midfield because I think Elliot Anderson hasn't hit the heights of the season he had in this World Cup so far. It really has been. And with this Rice injury, you wonder in that heat and humidity of Miami how efficient he can be at doing all the things that he does because he also takes the corner kicks, he also takes the free kicks, he's running back and forth as a box to box. There's a lot that he does. It's this is not going to be an easy game, and I think if I was Norway, I would try and it's interesting. Let me ask you this then: if you were Norway, would you go at England, or will you try and soak up the pressure, hit them on the break, counter, so on and so forth? How would
I
you
would
approach this?
I would attack them for the first 10 to 15 minutes. If I nick a goal, fine. Otherwise, then I go into a low block and just hit them on the counter. Just go all guns blazing for the first 10, 15 minutes. And then just, if you can't score, you can't score. And then you just wait for your chance.
I think it's interesting because if you play an open game, that suits England as well with the pace they've got
Mm,
on the flanks as well with Bukayo Saka in particular. So certainly it's going to be a delicate balancing act for Solback and their head coach. Will be interesting to see how they approach the game for sure. Maybe we might see Norway coming out on the front foot and really taking the game to England. And you never know with a makeshift centre back pairing and maybe a full back pairing, it could be quite interesting if they get that early goal. It's a fair point.
yeah, and
Yeah, to me, that's the big issue is that Norway aren't the fleetest of foot, and so if you do
mm,
attack them, there's risk that you basically allow Gordon and Saka behind you, and Bellingham, of course, who's shown that he's quite capable of getting at the end of balls into the box.
yeah, and I just want to ask, like, in the entire selection process, like, I know not everyone was the highest on Tuchel's squad, right? But he's actually made very good decisions this entire World Cup. He's had, like we were talking about Deschamps, he has had his finger on the pulse. They do not win that Mexico game without Tuchel. If that was Gareth Southgate, they lose in heartbreaking fashion.
I think you make a very fair point that Thomas Tuchel has certainly, outdone his coverage, as we like to say in NFL parlance, in this World Cup for sure. I think there are instances where we can pinpoint where something Tuchel has done, what Southgate would have done, like you pointed out, and fair play to him. Having a German leading an English squad is quite interesting, and so far he's doing a top job. Fair play to him.
But this is the game, and then the next game potentially, where you needed the ball controlling midfield that Tuchel has basically left at home. So if they lose to Norway or if they lose to an Argentina because they're unable to take control of the midfield, it'll be easy to point to the decisions that he made to keep the likes of Foden and these guys at home who can control the midfield, who can retain the ball, so on and so forth. England doesn't have that. They basically so far have used pace, power, and to basically win all these games and basically out physical teams. This is the first game whereby the pace will be a little slower. They'll need to do a lot more ball control, ball retention, and I don't know if they necessarily have it. Let's wrap up our fourth quarterfinal with Argentina against Switzerland. Argentina, of course, in that miraculous game against Egypt. Let's just dissect this for our audience a little bit more. Uh, the comeback was amazing, but how does Argentina put itself in this position whereby they have to come back? They had to do it against Cape Verde, scoring two goals. They had to do it against Egypt, who scored two goals. Is it just a matter that Licha and Christian Romero are not the best defenders and they're comfortable playing a little bit more aggressive, knowing that they have Messi as this get out of jail card, and they know that they have a goal within them, so it's okay if they give up a few goals and be a little bit more aggressive? Is it as simple as that,
I I
Mustafa?
I think it's simply it's not just their defense. I think their midfield is not as good as their midfield was 4 years ago. I think McAllister has taken a step down. Enzo's still fine. Like Enzo's still great, but like there's only so much he can do, right? And like it's Christian. Remember, as much as I like Licha, right? But like I feel like they're Romero and Licha kind of accentuate their worst tendencies together.
They enable each other in a sense. But
Yes.
the problem is they have no width. They're without Angel Di Maria. They are literally do not have a single wing forward. Even Nico Gonzalez is more of a central attacking midfielder. They have a lot of central midfielders. Paredes, you've got Alex McAllister, you've got Rodrigo De Paul, and so many so forth. And you've got Taliafico and Nolina, but they're not really looking to bomb forward. And I think Argentina, to be honest, are accustomed to playing this way. In 2018, it was Messi or bust. In 2022, it was Messi or bust. In 2026, it remains Messi or bust. So I think psychologically they're used to that game plan of let's just serve everything to the great one. Hopefully he carries us like he has done for the last 12, 16 years. And I think their mental makeup and the way Scaloni manages the squad, they're attuned to playing in that fashion. And so far, it's working for them. I do feel that their luck will run out eventually in this World Cup. There's only so many times you can go to the well and expect Messi to do miracles. And probably not against the Swiss. You do expect them to have enough pace and enough technique to overcome them. Even the Swiss are a bit of a aging side with the likes of Xhaka, Alverdi, Akanji, and the others. So I do expect Argentina to overwhelm them. But the semi-finals, if England prevail over Norway, I think that could be where the fairy tale finally comes to an end.
Yeah, yeah, and also like I just want to say that 2022 was Messi dependent, but it wasn't like what it was in 2018 or what it was in 2014, right?
He
Like they
had
had
Di Maria, na? He had his
Yeah,
Robin with
he
him.
had Di Maria, he had Dybala, he had Lautaro Martinez, like peak Lautaro Martinez. He had McAllister had a fantastic World Cup that got him the move to Liverpool, right? He had a proper squad. This is not the same team of 2022. Like Messi is not the same Messi, and he's still great. Like he's still fantastic, right?
No
But
one
like
else is scoring. Enzo scored one, Licha scored one, but basically Romero scored one. There's nobody else scoring really for them. It's interesting. This game is going to be in Kansas City at Arrowhead, of course, Pat Mahomes' old house. So
They should
GOAT
have
will
put
be in
the England
house.
game in Arrowhead and put this one in Miami.
I know.
yeah,
They should have, but It is what it
I bet
is.
Infantino tried.
Argentina probably did try, but you know, Argentina's base camp is in Kansas City. That's probably why they did it. So, you know, it's just they don't have to travel for this. They just take a bus ride. Um, so I bet you'll see Pat Mahomes will be there, you know, goat watching the goat. Of course,
What about
Yeah, no,
Travis
no,
and
no, no.
Taylor?
New,
I think
Look,
they're a bit busy
New
at the
England
moment.
New England fans won't like that, but no, of course, Brady is the GOAT. A potential Argentina-England match will, of course, be in um, Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz, home
Mm.
of where Egypt and Argentina just played, and these indoor stadiums are just the atmosphere is
mhm.
fantastic. So it'll be good to watch. You guys predicting? What's the official prediction then? Argentina-England, Argentina-Norway, AZ, Mustafa?
I think it's highly unlikely. Like England, they've dug deep at times. They've really impressed in this World Cup. Argentina, of course, they've got the so-called friendly bracket. England, I think they'll have enough to conquer the Vikings finally and reverse history.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is 51-49 towards England and Norway. So I
Come
will
on, yeah.
No, no, no.
मतलब ठीक है Norway are
No,
living a
Maga,
dream run,
I
but
think
come
it's
on, yeah.
think it's a legitimate toss of a coin, and I think the 1% that puts them ahead is that not even 1%. You could probably say 10%. Okay, say 60-40, right? Is that unlike Norway, who have this one ginormous star in Erling Haaland, they have two in Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane.
I
I
just
will
want to have a
go.
thought experiment with you guys. Whether or not England win the World Cup, Harry Kane Ballon d'Or, or does
Nah,
he
No,
need the World Cup?
I think if Mbappe sorry, if
Oh
France
yeah, yeah,
wins,
yeah.
it'll be Mbappe. But I
yeah.
think if anyone else wins,
How many goals has
anyone
he scored?
else,
70 goals this season? How many goals has he scored? It's
Kane,
insane.
yeah, something crazy.
No, no.
But I think
If
if anyone else wins, it'll be Harry Kane.
yeah,
If Argentina wins, if Spain wins, if anyone else, basically Norway wins, it'll be
I think
Harry Kane,
Spain are
or should be.
going through efficiently, quietly, and we haven't seen the best of Lamine Yamal
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So this
The
is
last
interesting. It's
that would be
shaping
the
up
Correct,
first
nicely.
because he's building up
fit.
his fitness and his momentum after missing the first game from that injury. You're absolutely right. I don't think this France uh, coronation will be a cakewalk. I think that potential semifinal in Dallas against Spain, if they overcome Belgium, will be interesting.
And I think Rudy Garcia, honestly, I feel even though Tuchel has been fantastic, I think Rudy Garcia has been the manager of the tournament. I mean,
Hmm.
the kind of results Belgium are achieving is unbelievable, to be
Yeah,
honest.
Well, he changed their trajectory, right? They were down against Senegal. He pulled off Doku, pulled off KDB, and then didn't start them against the US. It's brought them more control in the midfield. Doku is now the super impact sub. Lukaku is coming off and basically being this pivot. I do think
He's the Mitchell
against
Robinson of Belgium.
correct, but I think against Spain, I'd like them to have Doku because I think you need an outlet
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Spain can basically run you in this wash
And
cycle whereby you
Kukureya,
just
he's gonna foul. He's gonna get a yellow early. He'll do something stupid. So it's
correct
very possible.
put the pressure on them. So I'll actually go against the grain from you guys. I think it'll be Norway and Argentina. I just think that the emotional and physical toll of that match in the Azteca in the heat and humidity in Miami won't be too much for England. I think Norway squeak a close one.
Hmm.
All right. Any last thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap up for this week?
Ousmane Ballon d'Or and Mbappe Dictador. I put my faith in you. I put my faith in you. Stop
The
that
other thing
magic.
I've been really enjoying is these anime videos, man. They're so
Yes,
good.
yes.
They are so good. I mean, I've seen Attack on Titan. That's my only reference point. I watched it
Uh,
with my nephew last summer. So I kind of know what's going on with these videos. It's so much fun. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Everything around this World Cup has been very good to watch. They should, every 4 years is seems like a long time, but I think if they did it every 2 years, it'd be too much. I
yeah.
think it's nice the way they do it. They give you just enough to whet your
And
appetite.
48 teams is a smash hit. It's
48 teams is a
absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
smash it.
and
Absolute. Yeah.
like we have seen this problem with the Cricket World Cup, and like basically having an ICC event every single year has really saturated the
Mm.
cricket to international cricket to such an extent that we are kind of sick and tired of it, and not
It's nonsensical. It's
it's
nonsensical.
nonsensical, and like it's just nothing feels of worth anymore. Yeah.
No, I agree. Thank you.